we appreciate you guys coming out today. The main purpose behind the meeting today is to give you an update of, from a Sherpa perspective, so from an internship search perspective, where are we at, what can we be doing differently, and then just help us gauge what some of the best practices are of people that are actually having success so that we can implement those in the future. The other thing I wanted to comment, I'm a people watcher, and so I've been in my church settings, in my school settings, in public settings, kind of just observing people. And I've noticed that when it comes to any type of advice, when somebody's getting up and offering advice or wisdom or different things that they hope others implement, there's three basic different observations that I've seen. The first one is the reaction of the other people is they'll sit back and think, you know what, this might be good information but totally doesn't apply to me. So it's almost the ricochet approach. And so almost everything that's coming, as soon as it's coming, it's automatically being bounced off for somebody else, and not that specific person. Nothing's internalized. The second person, and this is the most common that I've seen, is the approach that you do the little nudge. So for example, let's say I'm sitting with my wife, and we're at a situation where they teach us about how a loving husband or loving wife could treat the other spouse. It's the nudge approach. So everything that you're hearing, you're thinking, oh, this is such great information. My wife totally needs this. This is exactly what she needs. And she's thinking the exact same thing. Oh, this is great. And instead of thinking, oh, I could probably do some things differently, it's immediately, I know the perfect person that should have been here for this meeting. And then the third approach is the one that I think for the leaders of the future is the approach that matters. It's the approach of saying, whether it applies to that person or not, they internalize almost everything. And so when you hear good advice, they immediately think, this is something that I could probably use. This is something that I'll look at. And they're internalizing it and deciding what they're going to change and do better based off of that advice. And so my hope for tonight is that everyone can be kind of that third person. Although you know of other people that could use this, take the approach of how does this relate to me and the changes I need to implement right now. The first thing I wanted to go through is, as far as placement goes, and I know internship is different than full-time placement, but it's one of the best correlations of what will lead to a full-time offer. But Business Week did a study, and of the top MBA programs, which ones are doing the best as far as placement goes? And what they looked at is, 3 months after graduation, what is the placement statistic? Where would you think BYU would come up or end up competing against all of the other top MBA programs as far as job placement? So the best job placement. Pretty high, pretty low. Some people will say different things. BYU came in 14. So what are some of the implications? And you guys can actually voice up. You're sitting and you're seeing this. You see BYU is ranked 14. Specifically in 2007, only 2% of the graduating class, 3 months after graduation, didn't have a job. Compared to now 17% in 2009. What are the implications? And I'll take it for whatever you guys see.
Market's tougher.
One, market is definitely tougher. The jobs are more scarce, it's harder to get. Less companies are recruiting. However you want to do it, jobs are scarce. What's the second different thing? Remember, let's think how this relates to us now. If I know that we're at 17% and we're ranked 14th in the nation, what are happening to all those other MBA students that are also looking for those scarce jobs?
It means that BYU students are getting the jobs that are out there. You know, even though we're not getting as many, there are still jobs to be had.
Exactly. So from an optimistic standpoint, great. We are placing. In fact, for our internships back in 2009, we had 93 placement by the time of graduation for our internships. And then we did actually have the other additional 7% that wanted them were able to secure internships also. They weren't paid, but they were still internships. And so we had 100% placement, technically, as far as internship goes. So yeah, from an optimistic standpoint, BYU, we are having success. We are doing it. So the message I want to have is, one, we can do it. There is an opportunity there to still get the jobs. But two, you have now less jobs out there and more competition for those jobs. In fact, some of the different MBA schools that BYU ranked higher than, here's the list. And as it's going down, you'll see these are top schools. Specifically Wharton. Look at Wharton. 2007, 3.9. 2009, 21%. Duke, 9% in 2007, 22%. Andy Bernard in Cornell is 27. University of North Carolina, this is the intriguing one to me. They were ranked 30th as far as job placement. Top 30 MBA programs. Yet look at where they were at. Almost 1/3 of the students upon graduation did not have a full-time offer 3 months after. Please.
I think banking plays a big part of this. So I think that how hard banking's been hit, a lot of the banks in North Carolina and Wharton, which is such a feeder. So I think we're fortunate that that may not be our strong point here at BYU. Well, not fortunate because it'd be nice, but that's not us though, as much.
Exactly. And let's take that even a step further. That's a great observation. So for those schools that normally are great with financial placement, what type of jobs are they now looking for?
Jobs that may jump into our.
Exactly. In fact, you talk to these different schools and they're saying they're having to change some of their strategy. Before, maybe they thought they'd get a lot more finance and investment banking, you name it. Now, they're taking whatever jobs are out there. So once again, the point is, there's opportunity out there, but if we're not prepared for it, it's going to pass us up and some of these other schools are going to take advantage of it. Where are we at? As far as November 1st, 2009, we had about 9% placement. Once again, the good news is we are placing people. This is just internships from here on out. 9% placement. Specifically finance, 8%. Marketing, 5%. Now, OBHR, when you see 32%, it sounds like a great start, and it is. But with that in mind, the main push for OBHR is at that very beginning of the year. And so, although 32%, it's great that we're having some success, normally those figures at this time are closer to the 40-50% range. So there's still a lot of opportunity there. Supply chain hasn't really hit as far as the opportunities yet, and same thing with PD, but they're coming. Next. I figured one of the best ways of learning what to do is to talk to the people that have already done it and have that success. Specifically for me, I remember my first real job that I had coming out of school was in sales. So here I was, and I had some success in past with sales and different things like that, and I thought, okay, I'm now positioned, I'm ready to go, I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna take it and run with it. So I go my first month, and I was the very bottom sales rep. Probably for the company, but for sure for the division. And I got done with that month, and I thought, okay, it was because I was training. You know, I was new. Anyone when they're training the first month's going to be hard, but now that I've been trained, I know the products, I'm going to tear it up. So I'll go back my second month. Once again, very bottom of the company and for sure the division. And I came home and I was talking to my spouse, my wife, and I said, what's going on? I'm using the same, I've been successful in the past. I'm using the same things that have helped me be successful in the past. What am I doing wrong? And we got talking about some of the different ways of being able to do better. And what it came down to was, although maybe some things worked for us in the past, doesn't mean they're always going to work for us in the future. And so I decided, okay, if I want to be the top here, I better do what the top people are doing. And so I took 2 weeks off, basically, of doing my normal day-to-day grind. And I contacted all the top sales reps in the company, specifically within my region. Got on the phone with them, met with them in person, and just simply said, tell me what you're doing. And they'd give me some general things, and I said, okay, that's great, but I want to know everything. Tell me to the point where when you pick up that phone, what words are you using? What do you say? What's your approach? And I put together a little pamphlet of all the different best practices of what these top people that were doing were. Very simple, nothing even that detailed, but it was just a few little minor changes to what I was doing. Went back my next month and I thought, okay, let's see what happens. And within a month from that time, I became the top salesman in the division. And continued that for several months on end. To the point where they finally said, hey, you have this person named Joe who's not very good, not very talented, but he's having a lot of success and being one of the top sales reps. How do we duplicate him? And so I went and traveled to different branches and started doing seminars on, here's what the top people are doing. If you want to do it, here's the information. And pretty soon Utah, our division, was actually climbing the ranks as far as the total company, what we were able to do. So the message is, for the next few minutes, we'll go over each of the different people that you're going to hear from, our first years who have done what it takes to get the offers. Doesn't mean that they're all knowing or that they're perfect, but listen to what they're telling you and think about how you're personally going to be able to apply it in your life. We'll start off with Jania and go from there.